The news is very limited. It's very hyper focused on specific things, politics, specific political um, debates or arguments or points. And then social media is the same way, and and I suspect artificial intelligence will be the same way too. Just gets so focused, on these specific points, and it makes me wonder, like, what what are we being distracted from? The people that run the news, what is going on that they're not telling us, or that they're trying to distract us from by emphasizing, what they emphasize, and then ignoring. What are they ignoring? What are they missing? What's missing? Uh, and I finally figured out what they're trying to distract us from. um, yeah, and I think it just fits into my thoughts about media as they've always been. So, why are they all so adamant on getting our attention? Why do they want it so bad? I mean, ultimately it comes down to money, right? Because when they get our attention, then they can sell our attention essentially to advertisers. They can sell advertisements, and and make money, and that's how they stay in business. And so if they don't get our attention, if they don't hold our attention for a certain amount of time to a certain level, then they'll theoretically go out of business, or they'll lose advertisers, and then they won't have money to survive. So that's kind of the core thing. But Aldous Huxley, the guy who wrote Brave New World, he talked about this thing called the ultimate revolution, and he said, Brave New World was kind of a oh jeez, I can't think of the term, but an allegory for the ultimate revolution, of like things that he suspected would happen when the ultimate revolution came. And the ultimate revolution is basically, it's a power and control over people that is not forceful or violent, in that they consent to. So it's like, you're allowed to control me. I'll give you my freedom. And that's like kind of crazy, but at the same time, you can see it demonstrated in Brave New World. And then what's scary is Brave New World was written like early 1900s, and now it's, so much of what Huxley showed in Brave New World is just here today. It's kind of incredible. It was science fiction in its day, and now it's like maybe near future dystopia, but also like here future dystopia. And so I think part of it is, if we're if we're looking at it from the kind of conspiracy theorist perspective, which is worth considering, even if it's not true, it's worth considering, because if you don't consider it at all, then if someone manipulative or something actually does come into power, and you're just refusing to even consider the fact that there could be any kind of conspiracy, then you're going to miss it, and that's not good either. You don't want to miss that. So we don't necessarily have to believe the conspiracy theories, but we can at least consider them. I think it's worth considering. And so the ultimate revolution is this, the powerful are able to control with consent and nonviolence. And I think the way they can do that now is by distraction. Giving us bread and circuses, pleasure and food and pleasure and distraction, amusement, entertainment. And what do we have? We have this just massive abundance of entertainment. TV commercials. I learned this when I was in school. I studied broadcast media in school. So I do kind of have a little bit of background in this stuff. Television commercials, back when television was the biggest consumer media, before social media and in early social media stages. The TV shows themselves would be shot often in like a lower quality, like maybe just this isn't exactly what it was, but as an example, it would have been like 480, P, 480, like a TV, a 480p or a 720 or a 1080T. You know how they have the different TVs. So the actual program was shot in lower quality, and the commercials were shot in like the highest quality possible, with the best audio. And in fact, they would actually they would make the audio a little bit louder during commercials a lot of the time. But ultimately, like, the goal was to make the commercials just as entertaining, if not more entertaining, than the actual show itself, because they want you to watch the commercials. The show is just there to get you to watch the commercials. So we can look at it from the money standpoint. Yeah. And that may seem like, that's just not even conspiracy theory. That's just pure fact. They go out of their goal. The heads of the TV stations or the TV providers have to get your attention so that they can make money. They have to make money or they go out of business. And they stoop to less than, not always ethical practices to do that, I think. Or maybe they are ethical. I don't know. I'm not going to cast a moral judgment, I guess. But let's say it's the ultimate revolution, and the powerful want to control us with nonviolence and with consent. How about like, hey, we'll distract you if you pay us to distract you. And look at like all the TV providers now, all the streaming services, like people are paying for this stuff. And it's to be distracted. Now, the question is why do they want us distracted? Is it just to make money? Or is there some other motive? I don't know, but let's just suppose that they want to distract us so that we don't revolt. So that they want to distract us so that we can be controlled. But what do they want to distract us from? How does that control us? Well, what do we need to see if we're going to be free? If we're going to revolt, what is it that we need to see? What is it that we need to not be distracted from if we're going to change anything? We need to not be distracted from ourselves, from our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, and our behaviors. We need to see our feelings so that we're not, I'm going to quote Aldous Huxley here, so that we're not made to enjoy a state of affairs which by any decent standard we ought not to enjoy, the enjoyment of servitude. If we're distracted from our feelings and we're, anger. Oftentimes when we get angry, it's for a very good reason. And it's our mind or our body or our mind and body, it's our self telling us that a boundary has been crossed, that there is injustice. Sometimes anger is irrational, but sometimes it's rational and it's telling us there's injustice, and there really is injustice. If we're distracted from that anger, or if we're distracted by that anger, that we feel about something else that's completely different than what we should be angry about or what the actual injustice is, then we're not gonna rebel. We're not gonna try and subvert the system. We're under control. Or if I feel depressed because the system is just overbearing and controlling, but they can distract me from my depression by giving me an endless YouTube feed and a few pharmaceutical drugs, then I'm completely under their control. I don't feel my depression. I don't feel the terrible state of affairs. And in fact, I enjoy the state of affairs, which by any standard, I should not enjoy. And so damn if they want us to see our feelings. It's just, and maybe it's that we don't want to see our own feelings, you know. Maybe that's why all this stuff, maybe that's why all these streaming services and social media and everything else does wonderful business, because it makes tons of money, because maybe it's just because we don't want to see our own feelings. But ultimately, the thing is that whether it's us or them or everything, you know, they want us pleased, amused, and distracted, because then we'll never grieve, we'll never pity, we'll never fear. Or if we do, we'll just project those feelings onto the entertainment or the thing that's distracting us. We'll never feel any of the things that guide us to growth or to change or to acceptance. We'll just remain unaware for our entire lives. And this happens. People do this, you know. People just take drugs or get, you know, just drink every day, or just spend all of their free time in algorithmically curated selections of tweets, and they don't think, they don't feel, they just scroll. And they don't take time to be aware of their feelings, of their inner lives, of what's actually happening. And honestly, it's just not for me. I don't know. I think I want to be present with myself. I want to be present with another person. I want to be present with you guys through these videos, if that's, you know, what it takes just to get some kind of presence started. Because let's face it, it's a kind of a lonely world right now, because so many people aren't present, because so many people are, you know, absorbed in the million distractions. You can't blame anybody for that, because there's a bajillion distractions. It's like everything is like, hey, look at me. So can't blame anybody for being distracted. But when everybody's distracted, it's kind of a lonely world. There's no presence with one another, with ourselves. And so, you know, maybe at least we can start by just being present through an entire video, or just being present through a video. And then being present with ourselves. You know, giving ourselves time to think, to feel. Like, you know, instead, if you're feeling bummed out, instead of like going to Twitter and scrolling further, or Facebook and seeing a million things that probably aren't really going to make you feel any better but will distract you, why not just explore that feeling. Be curious about it. Ask questions about it. Why am I feeling this? What does this feeling look like? Like, what would it be shaped like? And what would the color of it be? And then feeling, what are you trying to tell me? And then just listen. And be present with yourself. Give yourself time to think, to feel, to exist. And I think that's where freedom really comes from. Because then we see what we've been distracted from all this time. We see what we need to see to guide us on our journey. So, what are your thoughts? What do you think they're trying to distract us from? I'd be really curious to hear, because I don't know. I honestly don't know, except it's pretty clear that we are definitely being distracted from ourselves. So, I don't know. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up so I know to post more like this. I know this is kind of like a slower one, maybe more introspective. And so if you give it a thumbs up, and then I know, that maybe these more kind of deeper introspective videos are worthwhile, or that you want to see more, that this is what kind of presence maybe that you want me to offer for a little while. Hopefully it's better than the loud, crazy, angry, anxious news feeds. I don't know. Maybe it's not. Hopefully. And subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks for watching. Peace.